Hello there. Hi, friends. I am hopping on my own because Ali is on a business trip and he's traveling. But he and I have been in communication, and we just published our third edition for CityClips today, and really excited. But I am still going to cover some neat tips about email subject lines, and not just from my experience, but also from what I've seen big newsletter companies do. And I still want to have a part two with Ollie's input too, because obviously he's got more experience and it would be great to hear from him. So we're going to have a part two with him probably tomorrow. No promises. We'll see how it goes. But for those of you who haven't heard yet, I'm having a ribbon cutting on Thursday at Idea Lab, and it is going to be at 4:30. We'll be welcoming guests, and around 5 o'clock, Capital City Chamber is going to do a ribbon cutting for me, and I'm really excited to have several of my friends, business colleagues, people in our community to support me at my 10-year anniversary. It's kind of crazy. Funny secret, LinkedIn says 10 years. On paper, it's about 9 years, so you could say it's a leap year. So I could say 10 years this year and 10 years next year. But anyways, no, but technically I have been running my business for over 10 years, been a contractor for many years now, beyond 10 years. I've been running my business, Jage Creative, for 10 years. So can't believe it's hit that mark. And I am just really thankful for my clients, for my friends, for people who support me in my business. And one of the reasons why I started it was because I wanted a work-life balance experience so I could be available for my kids whenever they need me. And long story short, I'm here today and thankfully surviving. So yeah, I'm going to dive right in really quick, and I'll make it nice and short, and I'll talk about the email that we published today as well. So if you haven't signed up already, you're missing out. I am learning so much going through this process, not only about the process, but even learning so much news that's relevant to us locally here in Tallahassee, North Florida, and also what the global technology business world is up to. And we throw in fun sports and culture tidbits here and there, just to provide it a little bit, to provide some entertainment as well. So I will go ahead and share my screen. We'll focus on email subject lines first. And let's do this. Fun fact. I've tested out ChatGPT already, and I was like, this is not my ideal experience. I'm a UX design wannabe, and one of the first things I notice with any app I use, I really like to use it if it's user friendly and if the design was well done. But anyways, one thing that happened recently is that Google, it must have been a bot that invited me to test out their, I don't even know what it's called, but it's their own AI. So there's a little icon here. It's kind of tiny on the screen. It says, help me write. And it's in parentheses lab. So these little lists and tidbits were based on prompts that I asked it to write. So I was just curious, like, Google's going to know. Google's going to know. I said, help me list out top 20 subject lines that are trending today. And here you go. I can even zoom in so that you can kind of see better. Right now, these are subject lines that are performing really well, apparently. You're invited to the metaverse. The future of work is here. The new iPhone is here. So these things are trending. These things, like, this is a must read. That does catch my attention. I'm not sure if it works for you, but this is huge. This is a must watch. So some of these little subject lines, and really, to me, if you notice, even for you, like, if you squint your eyes skimming through all the subject lines in your email and inbox, the shorter ones really capture your attention and mine, and the ones with some hint of color, like emojis. So any subject line that might have like some kind of bright color emoji, it usually catches my eye and I tend to click on it and open it. And if it's a catchy subject line, of course, it's going to get me. So yeah, so these are top 20 email subject lines based off of Google. I'm not going to list out everything there, but the other thing I asked it to do is list the top 10 tips for email newsletters, and this is what it listed out for me, and it was very concise, and then it even gives you the option to shorten it. So if you highlight it and you can shorten it, you can elaborate, you can rephrase. That's pretty amazing. And so I'm like, I don't know if I need ChatGPT. Really, I could just use Google because I heavily use Google Docs in my workflow. So I think it's been great so far. And yeah, so I can even just fly through these tips, but have a clear purpose for your newsletter. I love how they had formatted the first part in bold and then the rest in regular text. Segment your list, use a strong subject line, keep your content short and sweet. Yes, absolutely. Use visuals to break up the text. We're already using that. So I'm highlighting these things, and you'll see why I set up the newsletter the way that I set up. And I can tell you a little bit more about like why I curate certain news as well. But that's, I mean, I can probably elaborate in another video another time. But as far as the last set that I asked Google to do, which was list the top 10, I believe it was like the prompt was, what are the best tips or top 10 tips on email subject lines? And so it says here, keep it short and sweet, aim for 50 characters or less. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. Be specific. Tell the recipient what the email is about. Use active voice. Avoid using all caps or too many exclamation. I hate exclamation points. Let me just tell you that. And that was a big no-no in the ad world. I majored in advertising, and a lot of our instructors were ad pros in San Francisco, some of the top, pretty much the top creative environment at the time. And they said, stay away from exclamation points. They just kind of said that's like a given. Do not use them. And so anytime you used it for copywriting, they just like rip the page off and be like, nope. And then, of course, proofread. Everybody needs proofreading. And you can use Grammarly, Google Docs. You can use Microsoft Words, grammatical tool. So I am not the best writer, to me, in my opinion, but people do say that I do write well or communicate well. So I'm like, okay. But I do like keeping things short and sweet, and I tend to have, run-on sentences, say a lot of ands and things like that. So I really like these automated tools like Grammarly that help people like me correct things. And so the other thing is having another pair of eyes. It's always good to have a fresh view of somebody from someone else, because they'll catch something that you were like, you probably glazed over. And it's always good to review, and even sending myself test emails a couple times because I missed something beforehand. Absolutely agree. So as far as subject lines goes, personalize the subject line if possible. There's a lot of platforms that can do that now. So we're using MailChimp, which obviously does that. Use a subject line that is relevant to the recipient's interest. That's something that definitely down the line, as we get to know more of our audience, we'll try to do more of that. And for now, we're just kind of, broadly curating content. And as we get more, our voice gets more stronger, and we find our voice, which is primarily mine for now, with Ollie's guidance, we'll figure that out. And then as far as using a subject line that is relevant to the content of the email, yeah, that's a trick that Ollie can speak to more. I like it when there's just kind of a witty sense of humor, and so that catches my attention. I noticed some subject lines are summaries of like one of the most important things that's happened or featured in the newsletter. So 3 words sometimes, or maybe it's a pun. Even though that was also a big no-no in the ad world, but puns are a little more accepted now, especially thanks to social media. And maybe it's like just a reference to what's trending today. So use a subject line that is interesting and attention grabbing. Yes, absolutely. That's common sense. And that's something, as you figure out like who your niche audience is, you'll kind of know how to talk to them and speak to them. And for us, in our case, it's North Florida, and maybe it's newcomers to North Florida or Tallahassee. And so one of the main things we want to convey is like, we want to be a source of information. This will be your go-to place to find out what's going to happen in the near future or what's ahead, so you can plan ahead, and what's happening regionally. So like, how does that impact us locally? And also what is happening nationally or globally, and how does that apply to us locally? So some of these things is like tricky. As I go through this, I'm like, wow, this is a lot of work. Even though it's a lot of fun for me, it definitely, you have to like research content, you have to curate content. I'm like skimming through headlines, hundreds of headlines, even sometimes close to 1,000, because I'm using tools that let me pull up all of these sources, and then I'll see like, okay, this would appeal to the audience that we're trying to connect with. And so I curate based off of that. And then obviously trending is whatever's trending on Google News, Google Trends, locally. Those are the things that will help us figure out like what's the best subject matter to feature for this week. And yeah, like I said, 3 words, 5 words, use a subject line that is clear and concise. So let me go ahead and see if I could pull this up in this window, because I have this here. Super excited about this. Yes. So some of you know, if you already checked the news, Pee Wee Herman, the famous American icon, I've known him as Pee Wee Herman and not Paul Rubens, but unfortunately he passed away. And so I wanted to give him a tribute. And then since I had already outlined, like I had an outline like ready, and then I heard about the news for him today. Like I didn't know last night, and my outline had The Rock in it. So I was like, oh, this is a great Jiffy with Pee Wee Herman and The Rock, so I might as well just include an image and just give a little quick tribute to him. Because I mean, I'm part of that generation that grew up with him on Saturday mornings. I don't know about you, but yeah, I mean, I remember like the classic, I don't know, what is it? Something about, I don't know. Oh man, I saw the line about like, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? Like that whole back and forth argument that he had. That's a classic clip. But anyways, yeah, he obviously brought a lot of positive energy into our Saturday mornings growing up to the Gen Xers. So I wanted to pay tribute to him, and it was so fitting because I was going to feature The Rock anyways. Because in quick summary, because I'm not going to read this whole thing for you, because you should be able to read this within 5 minutes. And the quick summary is that it is all about back to school, because Leon County, FSU, FAMU, everybody's starting school soon. But Leon County, their first week of school is next week, August 10th, the first day of the Thursday, which is my daughter's birthday. It always lands. Their birthdays land. And I say they because my second son's birthday is also around within 3 days of my first child. So yeah, first week of school is really crazy for me. So I'm glad that there are resources out there to make life a little easier. Back to school, don't miss the opportunity for tax-free weekend, which actually ends this Saturday, I believe. The 6th is the Saturday. And so you better get cracking and start buying. And I put in links. Obviously put a little fun GIF there just because it is how we all the parents feel. I put in neat stats about FSU and the enrollment numbers, FAMU as well. And then I put in links to the actual, just to kind of confirm and validate the dates of their first day of school. And also very helpful links to, if you want to shop for, and I say you as in the parents, for K through 8, you can actually have pre-populated lists that were already supplied by probably faculty, local faculty to Target and Walmart. So you can look up the school and you can just put in your, zip code, and it usually pulls up the list by grade. So this is something I wanted like 10 years ago. Thankfully, they've started rolling this out like a couple years ago, I believe, when I was like, yeah, they finally did it. I was like, why? And I always ask myself when I used to shop for my oldest, I was like, why don't they just have it ready and packed somewhere? Like if they know the list and it doesn't change every year, they should just go ahead and just put it all together in one batch and sell it as a pack. But thankfully, at least with online, they could pre-populate the list and you can just click select all, order, and it'll ship. Yay, you're done. You're golden. So yeah, thanks to technology, life is a little bit easier. So as far as some of the other things that I happen to find, thankfully, thanks to tools that I have, we were able to find really awesome things happening in town. So this athlete, FAMU softball player Amaya Gaynor, was selected one of 7 athletes in the country to be part of this NIL deal, which is name, image, and likeness, for those of you who might have not heard about it. And that's pretty awesome. Like, we've got amazing talent in town that sometimes, half the time, nobody knows they actually exist here. They go to school, to FAMU, FSU, TCC, really bright students and talented students and athletes that come through our town, and they might have not known. I say they, as in there's the community, and then there's the student population. But then we, as a collective, should like start bridging the gap between the two groups of folks, and then just really connect and make things happen here in town. So I really think this is exciting, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do as a newsletter, is share this information that these things are happening as fast as we can, so that there is, it opens up opportunities. It opens up information sharing as fast as possible. So yeah, and regionally, sales tax. I think Florida has the best tax holiday offerings, and I put in a link there. Sometimes I might not share everything on, for local, regional, and in this format, but I just kind of wanted to stay consistent with that. And Ollie and I are going to work on different formatting, different styles of writing. He's going to give me a lot of good feedback, I'm sure. And so I wanted to highlight some stats as well, because I bumped into all these really cool articles and I thought, okay, some of these things are pretty relevant. So Shark Week, last week, Shark Week, yeah, it broke some records, and they had 5.3 million watching on opening night. And I was like, what? So they apparently created this show many years ago because they wanted to destigmatize the whole thing about sharks being dangerous. And it's funny because like the following point that I bring up at the end is a stat that Florida it leads in the nation of shark attacks. So like, I think for us as a state, we need to figure something out where it, obviously environmentally safe for both the sharks and for those who are, wanting to go to the beach and have a safe environment for all. So that's an opportunity I could see. If there's any way that someone could solve that problem without, doing anything illegal, that would be great. But it is kind of neat that, like Florida was featured in National Geographic's version of Shark Month, and people have a fascination for sharks. So yeah, that's really interesting. Speaking of more stats, Taylor Swift's, and I've always heard people say Eras Tour, but to me it's like it reads as Eras, but it's Eras Tour, and because it signifies all the eras of her career since she was 15, and which explains why it is making her a ton of money in sales. And if you've seen the concert, I have not seen it live. I think she does an amazing job performing. She's one of the best performers out there live. And the way that they produce the entire thing is pretty fascinating from what I hear. And anyhow, Barbenheimer, I mentioned it last week and in my first newsletter edition. And now that the numbers are coming in, it looks like both Barbie and Oppenheimer are actually doing well. But Barbie is beating the box office records. It's actually bringing in a lot, which is over $775 million globally. And that is pretty good for a second box office weekend. And that's not for the second box office weekend, but it's in total. So apparently it was like, I believe it was in the 90s. So yeah, it's breaking records. Cool tip if you didn't know, and if you're new to town, that on CMX Falls Chase, if you go to CMX Falls Chase, the cinemas there by literally the only Costco in town, they have a special deal on Tuesdays for brand new movies. If you didn't know, which tends to sell out even post COVID, but starting to feel like more people are getting more comfortable again. Before pre-COVID, it would be packed all day on a Tuesday. But now the numbers are starting to come back in where like you got to definitely book ahead of time or try to catch your tickets because the deal is really good. $5 to $8 per person. You're saving more than 50% on tickets. And yeah, I mean, with everything going up with pricing and back to school, all of these things, you don't want to like start splurging. We try not to go to the theaters that often to save. As far as what's happening locally, do not miss the opportunity to catch First Fridays at W Station because it is a unique opportunity to network with fellow entrepreneurs this Friday, and it's walking distance within Railroad Art District, and you can just go around the corner. And if you haven't seen the brand new renovated building for Visit Tallahassee, y'all should check it out. It's really beautifully done. The parking lot is awesome. Plenty of parking, yay! I remember back then when it was like kind of a mess over there, but they did a great job with the renovations. And you can check out this space at Domi. That's where I started my business 10 years ago. And shout out to them. And as far as like anyone who's a film buff and who wants to meet some potential, future film producers and directors, we have a film festival, and it's the 13th annual festival in Tallahassee, and it's coming up on Labor Day weekend. So you might want to go check it out. The links are there in the email. I could forward it to you if you didn't subscribe yet. Happy to send it over to you if you'd like to get a copy of this, because yeah, we'd love to get more subscribers. So you can go and let me go ahead and share that. You can go to cityclips.net and subscribe to our newsletter. We are looking for potential partners. Thanks to Launch Tally for partnering with us this month. And we're on a mission to get more folks to subscribe and catch the latest and greatest of North Florida and Tallahassee, all related to business, tech, and the lifestyle of that is North Florida. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to go ahead and hop off. I will catch you with Ollie next time, and we'll focus on his input on writing styles and email subject lines. Have an awesome day.